All right, so we've got a pretty hefty stack of articles here, all about academic publishing.
Yeah.
Looks like we're taking a deep dive into the trials and tribulations of researchers trying to get their work out there.
For sure.
It's a whole system, right? With its own unique set of challenges and
Absolutely.
ways to really make a splash and get that research noticed.
Right.
And to make an impact.
It is.
So let's jump right in. One of the things that really stood out to me from these articles
Okay.
is just how many obstacles researchers face even before they get to the actual publishing part.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just getting funding to do the research in the first place
Yeah.
can be a monumental task.
Totally. Securing that funding is often the very first hurdle researchers have to clear.
Right.
And, they've got to craft these super detailed grant proposals
Yeah.
outlining every aspect of the research question and methodology.
Like a business pitch almost.
It is.
You're trying to sell your research idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're trying to convince those funding agencies that your project is worth investing in.
You got to prove it's got potential impact and that it's actually doable.
Mm-hmm.
And then even if you get the funding,
Oh, yeah.
there's still the peer review process to contend with, which I imagine can be pretty nerve-wracking.
It can be, yeah. Putting your work out there for other experts to scrutinize, knowing they might suggest major revisions
Yeah.
or even reject it outright.
Oof, yeah, that's got to be tough.
It definitely can be a humbling experience.
Yeah.
But, it's also a super important part of the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Peer review helps to ensure that the research that does get published
Right.
meets those really high standards of rigor and validity.
Okay.
And a good reviewer, they're not just like picking apart your work looking for mistakes,
Right.
They're offering constructive feedback to
Right.
help you actually make your research stronger.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
The key is to approach the whole thing as a collaborative process, even when it feels challenging, which, it often does.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget about the actual writing part.
Oh, yeah.
Like taking all those complex research findings
Mm-hmm.
and distilling them into this clear, concise, and engaging paper.
Right.
That's a skill in itself.
It is. I've heard some researchers compare it to solving a puzzle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all those pieces of data they've gathered
Yeah.
have to fit together in just the right way to tell a coherent story.
That's a great analogy. And then on top of that,
Right.
you've got to think about who you're writing for.
Yeah.
Is it just for other specialists in your field?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you trying to reach a broader audience?
Right.
Which, of course, totally changes how you write.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really influences your writing style
Yeah.
and how you frame those research findings.
Okay, so let's say you've cleared all those hurdles.
Right.
You've gotten the funding, gone through peer review.
Mm-hmm.
You've written a stellar paper.
It's published.
Yeah. Now, how do you make sure it doesn't just sit there collecting dust on a virtual shelf?
That's the next big challenge.
These articles you sent talk a lot about promotion,
Right.
which seems almost as crucial as the publishing itself.
It really is these days. Researchers can't just sit back and expect their work to speak for itself.
Right.
You've got to be proactive and strategic about getting it out there.
And that's where social media comes in.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Like Twitter, ResearchGate,
Mm-hmm.
all these platforms give researchers a way to share their work with a global audience.
Exactly. You can engage in discussions, connect with potential collaborators.
It's like building your own little research community.
It is.
But I imagine it takes more than just posting a link to your paper and calling it a day.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What are the tips for actually engaging on social media effectively?
Well, first off, it's about starting conversations, not just broadcasting your work.
Okay.
So share those key takeaways from your research,
Right.
but in a way that's easy for people to understand. Use visuals to make your posts stand out.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Get people talking,
Right. Be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
So beyond social media, what are some other ways researchers can get their work noticed?
Well, conferences are still a great avenue.
Mm.
Presenting your research at a conference allows you to connect with your peers in a more kind of, face-to-face setting,
Yeah.
get feedback on your work, maybe even spark some new collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
And don't underestimate traditional media either.
Oh, right.
Reaching out to journalists or working with your university's press office
Yeah.
can help get your research featured in news articles or press releases,
Okay.
which, can reach a much wider audience.
So it's almost like you need a whole separate PR strategy
In a way. Yeah.
just for your research these days.
It's becoming more and more important.
One of the things that really caught my eye in these articles was the idea of open access publishing.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. So open access is all about making research freely available to anyone, anywhere.
Wow.
It's a movement to really democratize knowledge
Mm.
and make it accessible beyond those traditional academic
I
circles.
like that.
Yeah, and a lot of journals now offer open access options.
Okay.
And there are also dedicated open access repositories where researchers can deposit their work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the world of academic publishing is changing pretty rapidly.
It really is.
It's not just about getting published in those prestigious journals anymore.
It's bigger than that now.
You've got to be able to tell a compelling story,
Hmm.
engage with your audience,
Yeah.
find creative ways to share your work with the world.
It's exciting. Researchers are finding all sorts of new ways to get their work seen and make a real impact.
And who knows what the future holds.
Right. With technology constantly evolving,
Yeah.
the possibilities are kind of endless.
It's amazing to think about. Well, for anyone listening who's super passionate about research and wants to find their place in this dynamic world of academia,
Yeah.
make sure to check out academicjobs.com.
Oh, good one.
It's a fantastic resource for finding higher education jobs
Mm-hmm.
in all sorts of research and science specialties.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.